Red River rivalry my ass.
There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of War Eagle Weekly. How are we doing tonight, Josh?
Doing pretty good, man. I won't be talking about my ass like you just did, but beautiful day here. Not too hot. It's been pretty good.
I'm feeling salty. Let's just freaking fire it up right now. That's what we're talking about. Let's do it. So this week we, had a pretty good week after the shit show that went on last week, and the panic that set in amongst ourselves as well as pretty much the entire Auburn fan base, and thinking that the world was falling apart. This week we picked up two new commitments. The first one being Hollis Davison. Tell us a little bit about Hollis, Josh.
Man, it's good to have him back in the class. And I say back in the class because he was committed to Auburn back in February of 2024, but then decided to take a step back in May. He didn't like the way it looks when a recruit is committed to a school and taking official visits still. So for that, I mean, that's just a stand-up act to me. Like you don't see that kind of honor with these kids when they're still in high school. But I mean, he took his official visits, decided that Auburn was still the place for him. He was saying that after his decommitment, he just really opened things up and took a step back. He said he got invited to 7-on-7, and it was going to interfere with some of his official visits, but he was able to figure it out and just wanted to get back to Auburn.
Yeah, and before we talk about the next slide here, man, he did something that I personally don't know if I could do. I feel like I would have stayed committed, done all my officials, and had those schools just give me the best that they had to try to flip me and see if maybe they would, whatever offer it was is a lot more than what it would have been if I was decommitted like he was. But hey, I commend the kid on it.
You sound a lot like Lane Kiffin right there, Cameron.
Hey,
leveraging his position to get more money, which is exactly what he did. You sound like a scumbag.
Hey, when it comes to me making my money, I totally am.
Like I said, you don't find that kind of honor in anybody nowadays, and Cameron is the perfect example of that.
Yeah. Now let's be honest. If I was able to choose between Auburn and some of the school, it's not a competition. I would have ended up at Auburn, but that's me as a diehard fan versus somebody that's making, really in today's day and age, a business decision, because that's what these high school kids are having to do.
It's true. And I talk about honor like I haven't been saying my entire life. If I wasn't a high-profile athlete coming out of high school, I would have committed to Alabama right away. And then on National Signing Day, I would have given them the biggest middle finger and committed to Auburn.
That's you've totally been saying that from day one, man.
Yeah,
ever since Reuben Foster, man, you were just like, okay, screw these guys.
Who gets an Auburn tattoo, commits to that school, and then says he got the tattoo in honor of his cousin? That's just a bunch of load of crap. Ripped. I think his name was Eric Smith, I believe his name was. Ripped to him, but still, what a scumbag. I don't want to talk about Reuben Foster. I want to talk about Auburn.
Yep. Well, hey, Hollis Davison. Wow, I almost forgot his name. So far tonight, I'm doing pretty good. He also had something else to say. Go ahead and hand over this quote we got here.
He said, I really appreciate the love they're showing me. It's noticeable. It stands out. It's a lot of love when I get on the campus, and that's all I can really ask for. Auburn's always been about the love. They've always been about the family. And some people say it's lame. Some people say it's just a gimmick. But when it's been going on for so long about the family atmosphere at Auburn, it's no longer a gimmick. It is the absolute truth. They want you on the campus. They want you to be part of the team because they want you to be part of their family. And it continues to show on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, and the thing is you go and look at what this coaching staff has continued to do. And even whenever you decommit or you commit somewhere else, they show you the love no matter what. They're not one of these coaching staffs that's going to just write you off. And unlike the previous coaching staff was like, well, there's that, can't do anything about it. this coaching staff is going to stick with it and is going to go after these players as hard as they can and treat them as if they're part of the class to begin with. And you absolutely positively love that. So Hollis Davidson brings over a very big, because this is a big dude, skill set.
Yes.
And is going to be coming into the class with I cannot remember his first name, but Ryan Gee or G.
Yeah, G.
Hey man, you can't blame me on that one. Everybody's
that one's a rough one. But it's G, pronounced G.
Okay. Well, these two tight ends, we have quite a bit of talent that's going to be leaving this room this year, and so it makes sense that we're bringing in two tight ends to the class. Both of them appear to be seems to be more of a blocking tight end. He has more of the blocking ability. He's still probably a receiving tight end, but Hollis Davidson definitely that receiving kind of, Evan Ingram kind of build, really.
He kind of reminds me, kind of reminds me of the build of like CJ Uzomah and Sal Cannella, with the running ability of Sal Cannella and still the blocking ability of CJ Uzomah, and still is able to catch passes either from the backfield or right in front or right behind the line to gain. So I mean, it's big. So like you said, we have Rivaldo Fairweather and my gosh, his name is slipping my head. He's on the roster. We're only gonna have two tight ends on roster next year. Rico Walker and I believe it's Micah Riley. And to get Hollis Davidson and Ryan G committed, it's just solidifying the tight end room. Because I know Hugh Freeze wants to have at least 4 tight ends on roster, and getting him to recommit to Auburn it's huge.
And traditionally your tight ends are tight to the line at the end, and so it adds to this recruiting class of offensive line. It's called a segue, Josh. It's called a segue. Is what we're going in here for. We have committed to the class well in Jacoby Ward. Let's see if we can get this to pop back up. I'm not sure why it's not. Sorry about that. Here we go. Jacoby Ward, 3-star interior offensive lineman, also committed to Auburn this week.
He is a big freaking human.
He really is. He is
huge.
Man, he looks great in the all that retro gear. He looks
all retro gear looks awesome.
Oh, yeah, freaking love it. But Jacoby Ward, I mean, hey, this is a 3-star lineman. Which again, last year we learned the lesson. Hey, you don't care if he's a 3-star lineman. With linemen, it's all about what the coach sees and what the coach knows that this person can actually, give to the squad. And we saw in Connor Lute last year, a 3-star lineman come in and play amazing minutes starting at center last year. So, I'm not saying Jacoby Ward has that talent and has that ability to start day one or to come in halfway through the season and really lock down the line. But it doesn't matter that he's a 3-star is what I'm getting at. Every team wanted this guy. I mean, he had offers from FSU, he had offers from Miami, and we're the ones that got that commitment. Now, it really goes to show, this entire offensive line class goes to show the ability that this coaching staff has, especially Coach Thornton, in bringing in talent. All those Ole Miss fans were like, "Oh, we didn't want Coach Thornton. He couldn't bring us the talent."
Yes, you did.
I mean, you just see this recruiting class that he continues to bring in, and the transfers he brought in last year, as well as the high school players. Jacoby Ward actually had this to say about the relationships with the coaches. The relationships I have with all of the coaches, they just keep it real with me, especially Coach Thornton. He's such a good guy. He told me that I could possibly be a day one starter here, and that's something I like to hear. Again, doesn't mean he's going to be, but he can have that ability even as a 3-star player.
I think he's going to push for the time. And like you said, just because he's a 3-star guy doesn't mean he's not a baller. Just because some recruiting site puts a star ranking on a guy doesn't mean that they're not good. I went over this in my update video on his commitment, but star ratings don't mean everything. Look at Kyle Frazier and Byron Cowart. Just two examples off the top of my head. Nick Fairley was a 2-star recruit from the JUCO ranks. And we all know what Nick Fairley is able to do. So it's just, this guy is a huge get. I think he stands at 6'4", 340 pounds. Doesn't get much bigger than that unless you're Georgia, that just got the guy that's 6'11", 300 something pounds and committed to them. But the guy is going to push for time. He may or may not start year one, but he's definitely going to be a good, probably 2 or 3 year starter for us after 2025.
Yeah. And I mean, he has the size that he could come in and just really compete.
Oh yeah.
And can make the team better and play from day one. I don't see it. I think we have talent here in the room that's going to be able to play. But like you said, he's at least going to push and makes the room better no matter what.
And that's what you want. That's all you can ask for with these young guys.
Yep. And something else that you can ask for, he is busy recruiting for Auburn already. He is already talking about how Scroggins, who just committed to Miami after everyone had him crystal balled to Auburn, Scroggins is my top target. I'm going to be working hard to get him back with us. So not only do we have the coaching staff going after this edge player that they want, this edge player that they covet, but we also have our linemen on the other side going after this guy. Steel sharpens steel. And, Jacoby Ward wants the best to compete in practice. And so you got to appreciate that as well.
I like what he says here. I'm going to be working hard to get him back with us. I like that part because that kind of solidifies the rumor that Scroggins was actually silently committed to Auburn before his visit to Miami. And then just kind of flipped the table and committed to Miami. Scroggins kind of is like Alvin Henderson to me. I don't buy his commitment to Miami. He just got caught up in the moment, enjoyed the nightlife and the Miami life. But ultimately, I do think Scroggins does end up back at Auburn.
Yeah. I mean, at least I hope he does. But again, man, I know it doesn't make any – this has nothing to do with football. But, dude – that dude just looks great in Auburn gear, Jacoby Ward. I mean, dude, I'm loving everything that he is wearing, dude.
Well, I mean, we can thank Trevon Reed for bringing back the retro look.
Oh, yeah. So
he's always got something retro.
So, but again, Jacoby Ward, huge addition to this class, should definitely make this, everything we need and improves this offensive line, even after the decommitment that we had last week of Jacarde Smith. Is it Jacarde Smith?
Carde Smith.
Carde Smith. See, there, it was only a matter of time.
Mixing the two names.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I am. Jeez. Yep. Okay. Oh, man. But it was, it kind of, again, it settles everything. It puts us all in a good spot. We're all feeling good about these two commitments. Yes, they're 3-star commitments. Some people have Harrison as a 4-star tight end, but most places it's a 3-star. But again, it just puts us back on solid footing on the recruiting trail.
Yep.
And it's Hollis Davidson. Yep.
It's okay. You'll get there. It's one day.
One day I'm not going to have problems with with the players' names. Oh man, it's so frustrating. Moving right along, our next topic of the night, we got SEC Media Days coming up, Josh. And
yes.
One day, hopefully, we are able to get some press passes and actually be there on site. Definitely not going to be this year, but
no way.
I enjoy SEC Media Days, and it's always fun to see, who the coaches are going to choose. And this year, I think 2 of the names everyone could have guessed, but one of the names was a big surprise in Keldrick Falk. What do you think, Josh? So
in my mind, when you bring your players to SEC Media Days, it's the players who are going to be leaders of their respective rooms and their side of the ball. Obviously, Peyton Thorne's going to be the leader of the offense. Eugene Asante is the quarterback of the defense. But with them bringing Keldrick Falk, it's got me thinking that Keldrick Falk has taken one massive leap forward in becoming a leader for the defensive line and being a voice for all these guys to follow and an example for them to follow. And he's just shown up and shown out and proven to his coaches that he's a guy that everyone can lean on and depend on. And that's what I believe with them selecting Keldrick Falk over everybody else. It's not very many sophomores you see going to SEC media days.
If there was going to be a sophomore, we both actually thought that it could be Connor Liu.
Yeah,
that was going to end up going. So we were both surprised to not see a sophomore on the list, but to see Keldrick Falk on this list. And that side of the room on the defensive line, it's a really young room. When you combine the edges with the defensive end, which in my mind they're kind of pretty much the same position. The edges are not going to be asked to do that much, or the buck linebackers are not going to be asked to do much more than rush the passer. And so it's shocking to me to see Keldrick Falk there. I'm excited to see him there, and that we have a sophomore, because theoretically then he should be on the list next year, right? Whenever we go into SEC media days. But at the same time, I'm excited to see what he has to offer and what he brings to the table. We know what Eugene Asante is going to bring there at SEC media days. Dude is going to provide you a soundbite, and not in a bad way. He is going to be that motivational, that person where all the media is going to walk away from his interviews and say, okay, that kid's got it. That dude has got it. He knows what he's doing. Everything is clicking for him. He had a great year last year. He's poised to have a great year this year, especially with DJ Durkin, who is going to provide amazing progress for these linebackers. Everyone assumes. And then again, Peyton Thorne, that leader on offense, the de facto, you have to bring a quarterback. I mean, it's almost, if you don't bring a quarterback, you're just freaking screwed. That year that Vandy brought their punter, I mean, it's kind of like that. If you don't bring this quarterback, you're kind of just, along the same lines of Vandy and bringing their punter. But Peyton Thorne should still provide quite a bit of leadership. I mean, the guy's been around a long time. It's his second year in the system. He had a spring under him this year. Didn't look amazing in the 8A game. You know how many people would have been so much happier if he actually went out there and just blew us away on 8A, and how much easier his life would be in the media.
He would still have his haters, and they would say that Auburn's defense ain't shit. I guarantee you that's what people would say. The fact that Peyton Thorne is actually brought tells me something. It tells me that the Peyton Thorne that threw for 1,700 yards last year, I think it was.
Yeah,
1,700 yards. It tells me that the Peyton Thorne that threw 1,700 yards is gone, and the Peyton Thorne that averaged 3,000 yards in 21 and 22 at Michigan State is back. And now I'm expecting a little bit more than I already was from Peyton Thorne, a little bit more growth than I was already expecting. And him coming actually probably tells me that's probably what's going to happen.
I want to see media personnel just completely grill this guy. I mean, Peyton Thorne showed that he didn't handle pressure too well away from home. And so I want to see him get grilled. I want to see him, even if it's off the field, even if it's in a freaking conference room. I want this guy under the lights, under the fire, feet to the flame, and I want to see what he's made of. I want someone to piss him off, and I want to see what he does to come back at this. I got to see something from Peyton Thorne, and I'm tired of not seeing it. I want to see a leader, okay? He's there. He should be a leader. He is the quarterback. Everyone expects him to be, but he just doesn't ever show it, man. I want to see that fire. I want to see that Baker Mayfield in your face. I'm the best sumbitch you've ever seen, even if you're not. And that I just want to see that swagger.
I don't want to see anyone that arrogant.
it's been a long time since we've had a quarterback that has had that swagger. Okay, Nick Marshall, maybe the last time. Definitely Cam. Nick Marshall was a quiet guy.
One of them were that arrogant though, like Baker Mayfield or Johnny Manziel. I don't want that kind of arrogance from somebody that hasn't earned the right to be that arrogant.
Well, yeah, but no, I appreciate that. I get that. But at the same time, again, I want to see that fire and that passion from my quarterback. Peyton Thorne hasn't shown me any of that. There has not been
next week
in the Arkansas game when he ran over that linebacker.
Whatever. He had no business doing that, and he did it.
That was kind of the only time we ever saw a fire. You know?
It's true.
At this time, again, that's all I'm asking for. I'm like, who is Peyton Thorne? Because right now, the Auburn fan
he's the starting quarterback, Auburn Tigers.
Right. But every Auburn fan thinks that he is the de facto quarterback, not the quarterback.
I can understand that. I get that reference. I get it.
So I that's what I want to see, man. That's what I want to see there in Dallas. We're not going to. We're going to see poise, calm, nobody is going to ask him the hard questions. He's going to get softballs lobbed to him. Just what the media freaking does. But I wish somebody would just light a fire under this kid, because I think if you do, he's a coach's son. You would think that he would know how to handle himself and would actually push back and really give you some.
Unless he was coddled his entire life.
Maybe. Who knows? Either way, SEC Media Day should be great. Yes. I'm interested to see some of the storylines. I know everyone talks about how SEC is already pandering to Texas and a little bit to Oklahoma, but mainly Texas. The schedule, is easy, but the SEC has been doing this for a decade now. If they think you have a shot at winning a national title, they're going to give you an easier schedule than the lesser teams. And so I'm okay with Texas having an easier schedule first year into the league, in the sense that they have a really good chance of representing the SEC. And I'm glad that we're getting an up-and-coming Texas, not a downward, projecting Texas into the SEC. Because
Vince Young.
Yeah, I don't see all the criticism. I know this wasn't on the schedule for us to talk about, but I mean, do you see the panhandling and the easiness that they're giving Texas as an issue? Well, because I really don't.
I don't see any panhandling, but I do see pandering.
Pandering, not
they definitely are kissing their butts. They're priming them to be, I feel like, the next annoying, obnoxious Alabama fan base of the SEC. I've seen a lot of interviews from these Texas fans after joining the SEC, and they're just, all of them, every single one of them, are in your face talking about how they're going to win the SEC their first year. Now, I personally do also believe they very well could win the SEC in their first year, especially given the fact their schedule is fairly friggin' easy. But I don't know if you want me to make the segue now, but I'm gonna. The fact that they put the Red River Rivalry as the number one rivalry in the SEC it makes my blood friggin' boil. Makes it boil. And I can only think of one thing as to why they say it is the number one rivalry in the SEC, even though it's the first year they're going to be playing it in the SEC. The only thing I can think of is the fact that the two teams are so close together in the win-loss column, and that only 8 of the last 10 games have been decided by single digits. It's the only thing I can think of regarding why they put Texas and Oklahoma ahead of Auburn and Alabama.
Now, see, this is part of the problem. Everyone is upset about this article that you're talking about, and I think even non-Alabama, non-Auburn fans are upset about this, because they're really definitely not the number one rivalry in the SEC. They could be arguably the number 2 to 4, depending on who you talk to, but definitely not the number one. And what Josh is referencing is this article by Will Backus from CBS Sports.
Will Backus.
The number, the 19 best rivalries in the SEC. And lo and behold, he puts number one, the Red River Rivalry. And this is his reason. I had to put it on here so that way I can at least give this guy credit and not quote him incorrectly. Because this is what he said. The pageantry, bullshit. The tradition, bullshit. The stakes, bullshit. Sorry, the bullshits are not part of his quote, or his article. The pure dislike for one another. Okay. The Red River Rivalry, nay, shootout. Checks pretty much every box you want in a college football blood feud. Okay. It also helps that the games are competitive. Neither team has won more than 4 consecutive installments since 2004. And like you were saying, 8 of the last 10 Red River games have been decided by a single score. Texas leads the all-time series 63-51 and 5 ties.
You know, I am a backdoor Texas fan. When I'm not watching Auburn football, I will turn on Texas games. I've always liked the Longhorns, but I'd honestly rather watch the Egg Bowl than the Red River Rivalry. And that's a fact. I'd rather see a Ole Miss player crawl in the end zone like a dog, lift his legs, and take a piss in the end zone. I'd rather see that than Texas versus Oklahoma. I don't understand at all why they would put this as number one, especially since it's the first time they're playing the game in the SEC. It's retarded.
Yeah.
Excuse the R word.
That's yeah, got to be careful about that. But the thing is the fact that it hasn't been played in the SEC, that doesn't bother me because this is tradition and there is history here. This isn't some new thing that's just now starting in the SEC. Like they've never played each other before, so I'm okay with that. But it's just not. When you think of your top rivalries in the country, you think Ohio State, Michigan. You think Auburn, Alabama. You think, and I hate this, but you think the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. You think the Egg Bowl. And then maybe you start thinking about, the Holy War with BYU and Utah, the Red River Rivalry. You start thinking about, what's another big rivalry? Nebraska and somebody. Just in general. Countrywide.
Auburn versus Georgia, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, deserves to be higher than the Red River rivalry.
Sorry, I was just talking nationally, like on a national scale, everyone knows. Yeah, the Red River rivalry is in there, but it's just not one of your top ones, in my opinion. I agree with you there. But the fact that the Iron Bowl is number 2 is just absolutely asinine. It's so freaking stupid, and it bothers me to no end. It bothers me to no end because it just does not make any sense whatsoever.
No.
I just, the fact is, so he not only that, but I have some problems with some of his other stuff. Number 3, the Egg Bowl. Okay, yeah, you like it. I kind of was more interested in it when you had Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach, 2 great big characters. It was about the coaches more so than the actual teams. Come Thanksgiving weekend or the week leading up to Thanksgiving, I don't care about the Egg Bowl personally. That's just me, but I can appreciate why someone else can enjoy it. And then you have, again, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party is number 4. And then the Deep South's oldest rivalry is number 5. Okay. So Auburn makes 2 games in the top 5, 2 rivalries in the top 5. But I would really honestly put all of those, maybe except the Egg Bowl, over the Red River rivalry in the SEC. That's just plain truth.
Yeah, I would agree. I would also move up the the Florida LSU rivalry as well. I'd move that up. The game is the series is only decided by 2 games, Cameron. Other than it's tied. That is a deep rivalry. I love watching that game.
Yeah, it's been fun, but Florida's been down lately, and so I'm just less inclined to be excited about it. That's all I'm saying on that one. But again, it's this kind of, again, leads back to the reason why everyone is so pissed off about Texas trying to come to the SEC and control everything. Well, this was not the SEC's list. This was not Greg Sankey coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, we're adding the best rivalry in the country to the conference." He's not saying that, but everyone is just the minute Texas starts looking like they're back, and they're always back, and then they're not.
This is probably CBS's last-ditch effort to try to stay relevant in the SEC since they lost streaming rights. I would imagine that would be it.
Maybe. So,
friggin' jerks.
I just cannot be more upset with this list, and the fact that the Iron Bowl is number 2. It goes in, and again, here I got to pull it back up because it just, the quotes here. Let me add this back up here. Let's see here. The pageantry. Okay, maybe there's a little bit more pageantry. They hold a fair. They hold a freaking fair, and both states get together at the fairgrounds, and they're like, "Woo, yeah!"
That should tell you right there why it should be number 1. You could never throw a fair with Alabama and Auburn fans and have them not at least shoot somebody on the Alabama side. It would not happen.
It'd be the Hatfield and McCoys, man. It'd be the Hatfield.
Yeah, it would be Alabama's disaster. It'd be the state of Alabama's attempt to lower the population in the state. Guarantee
it. Yeah.
Population control is what that would be.
And then the next part here, the tradition. Okay. The tradition.
I mean, it's 119 games deep.
Okay. Yeah. So there's some tradition there. And then the stakes. And I guess in the Big 12, there were high stakes because those were the only 2 teams worth a damn once they lost everybody else. So
not so much anymore.
I mean, yeah. And again, even for the last decade, it's been Oklahoma that's controlled that rivalry. I feel like, I don't know what the actual stats are the last 10 years, but I would imagine, based off of the fact that Texas has been a shit show for the last decade, I would think that Oklahoma owns that rivalry right now. And so again, I just don't buy his reasoning whenever he goes and doesn't bring up any of that when talking about Auburn and Alabama and the Iron Bowl. And the stakes are little. There was a 3-year span, a 4-year span that the winner of the Iron Bowl went to the national title game. I don't think there's bigger stakes than that.
No, there's really not. There's really not, and both teams could very well be this year.
Yeah, not to mention, like you previously stated, the lives that were at stake.
It's true. Every year you
constantly hear about somebody
Alabama fan. Yep. You always hear about some Alabama fan either killing trees or killing people. It's just it's always it's like Florida man in the news. You can always count on Alabama fan does this, Alabama fan does that. You can always count on
it. And neither one of them are acceptable. Neither one of them.
Leave the trees alone.
Well, I mean, also don't kill people. Oh, we have too much fun, man. Too much fun. So let's move right along to our last topic here. It's kind of a fun one to talk about just because of the buzz that this player created. But there's been reports that Alex McPherson's injury should be on track to play in the first game of the season. But if he's not, we do have a solid backup kicker that is available.
7 in the A-Day game.
And if for some reason Alex McPherson doesn't quite look like the same guy, how quickly of a trigger is pulled here to continue with the shooting metaphor that we have going on.
Well, I mean, I also wouldn't say it's an injury to Alex McPherson. It's an illness. It's a gastrointestinal illness that's made him lose a substantial amount of weight, according to Coach Hugh Freeze. But Hugh Freeze also expects him to be back day one. But again, if he's not ready to go, if he's not able to, get the ball down a straight line as much as he was last year, he went 13 for 13 in his first full-time year as a starter. I have every confidence in – is it Towns McGoo or is it Towns McGo?
I believe it's Magoo. I like Magoo better. It reminds me of Mr. Magoo, the guy that couldn't see with the glasses.
Yeah, we don't want him to be Mr. Magoo.
No, but I just like the name Magoo more. That's all it is.
Either way,
I'm going with Towns Magoo until someone corrects me.
I would be confident with Towns taking over. He looked very freaking good in the A-Day game. No one, including his mom, expected him to hit a 58-yard field goal at all. I know that was more for fun than anything, but for him to hit it in a live game setting, that's just
32,000 fans were there. I mean,
veins made of ice. He has ice in his veins, and that's just that kick alone made me feel confident that he'd be able to come in and just put points on the board.
Yeah. Number one kicker in the 2024 class. Kickers either have it or they don't. And so I don't care if he's a freshman or a senior. I'd much rather have Towns McGoo if he has ice in his veins, if he's like the Adam Vinatieri of his generation, more so than the thicker kicker last year for Missouri.
Heck him.
I'd rather have the guy that has ice in his veins, and that's what you want in a kicker. So, like you said, I have all the confidence in the world in Towns, and he can be the talk of the town. He can be, he can be the cat's pajamas, man. He can be the Mr. Magoo to Auburn as many times as he wants to.
We don't want him to be Mr. Magoo, Cameron.
I know, but it's a fun name. It's a fun name. Come on.
Is Auburn kicker you though?
Magoo.
Is Auburn kicker you?
It's quickly turning into it, man. I mean, you got Daniel Carlson. Before that, you had
Cody Parkey,
Will Bynum, Wes Byram.
Wes Byram. I was like, Will Bynum.
Yeah. Wes Byram. You had Wes Byram, and then you moved right into Daniel Carlson. And then right after Carlson, you got Anders Carlson. Both of them in the NFL, even still.
One of them's Legatron, one of them's not.
Now we have – he was still drafted. Now we have, McGee and Alex McPherson. I don't know why we have Adam McGee. Oh my gosh. This is great. This is great stuff, guys. This is just great stuff.
You forgot about Cody Parkey, Cameron. I can't believe you.
We did. I did forget about Cody Parkey.
I cannot believe you.
Yep. So Wes Byram, Cody Parkey. Wes Byram was the last Auburn kicker that didn't make it in the NFL. Because Cody Parkey was in there for a while. And now we got Alex McPherson, who is probably going to join his brother there in the NFL. And
not at Cincinnati, but in the NFL.
And then we have Towns McGoo, who is the next man up. And he's just going to be, again, like you said, kicker you, man. I know we made fun of Vanderbilt for having a punter go with them to SEC Media Days. But punters don't score points.
Was that the year that the punter they took was the female? Was that the year?
No.
Or was she a kicker?
No, she was. I think she was the punter, but she may have been kicker. I don't know, but that wasn't the same year. No, that would have been hilarious. That they're just like, well, we got to get some sort of press out of this. Let's go ahead and take the female. And the dodo birds there in Tennessee are just like, well, there goes our last female.
Oh my God. Let's hope they just have their stadium rebuilt.
Oh my gosh, dude.
You're so dumb.
Oh, I have fun. I enjoy it. And on that great big bombshell, War Eagle, Josh.
War Eagle, man.